Hi guys, it's me, Tartar's Queen Dragoness again, and in this video we're going to be just going straight down into it and talking about kids and transgenderism. Now, it's been a hot debatable topic for the longest of time, ever since it's been brought up for the past couple of years. I can't tell you how many times I've heard of people talking about, you know, puberty blockers and no, just I'm sorry, it's kind of like it's a very disturbing topic, and one thing that should have not gotten politicians involved, and for the most part I do think that there is a primary reason as to why this thing is even a thing. Okay? And it all stems, really, and this took a few hours for me to even find about. And I want to point out something. Okay? I want to point out something. There's an image right here. I Googled this. Can parents cause gender dysphoria? Now, it is a subject that I think needs better exploration because it might end up causing politicians to not make up these ridiculous laws that could further influence transphobia. So it says right here in this highlighted section of an article that I downloaded, says psychoanalysis suggests that hostile relationship between mother and child can lead to gender identity problems. And in this downloadable file of about 8.5 pages of reports to about 2.5 pages worth of citations, that there is a correlation between domestic violence and gender dysphoria. Now, prior to all of this, prior to this whole gender ideology thing for kids and puberty blockers and this idea, there was a point in time where there were children who were homeless or were experiencing domestic violence. It was a period of time that I didn't even think was even a thing. But there was a lot of people, a lot of kids that were thrown out, despised, or abused, or whatever the case may be. And it just like made them hate themselves so much. The amount of kids that were offing themselves was astronomical. But there was a certain percentage of them that hated themselves so much that they got this thing to say, oh, maybe if I turn into the opposite gender, all my problems will go away. And I think that's where we are in society today. I don't think that people are initially just trans by nature as they get older. I think for the most part, these are psychologically disturbed people because they have been abused in their household. Now, while that is a thing, I do believe that there is another reason why children are sort of being pressured into this whole trans ideology thing. And that is either pop culture, which is kind of ridiculous. I think we should all say, you know what, don't get yourself brainwashed. Teach your kid to not get brainwashed by silly pop culture things. Okay, it is absolutely ridiculous. Just teach your kid that, there's peer pressure points and all this other stuff. There's bullying, protect your kids from all this other stuff. But there is another factor that is closely related to this domestic disturbance that I think people don't really seem to realize even exists. And that is the fact that there is very demented, very selfish parents out there who really don't like their child's gender because of superficial reasons. Either they can't play tea party or dress up with their kid, or they can't play football and sports or teach them how to fix cars because that's a man thing or that's a woman thing, you know? It's pretty disturbing to say the least that there are parents out there who would do that. And so, I guess through manipulation, through brainwashing, through coercion, whatever the case may be, they tell their kid that they're a mistaken gender and they should get puberty blockers. I am kind of surprised that this is not being looked into. But I do acknowledge that these people do exist. And it is quite disturbing. But since this is a topic that hasn't been explored, legally, currently right now, CPS can't do anything about that. Which is kind of sad. And that's why we have all these crazy people, crazy psychologists that are available for these crazy parents so that they can engage in puberty blockers and engage in changing their child's gender so because of selfish reasons. That's just it. That's the sad reality of it all. And unfortunately, because of these people, politicians are unnecessarily getting involved with this transgender thing. Okay? It especially with kids, okay? Now, in my honest thoughts about this is that should puberty blockers exist? No. I think there are very good doctors out there that say that you are complete and utter dumbass if you engage in selfishly changing your child's gender. Enough said. I just don't understand why these parents even still exist and are allowed to exist. I guess people still haven't learned. If anything, for the stupid, arrogant people and selfish and mindless drones out there, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. Now, that's for the lowlifes. What about the gray area? What about those parents that are truly loving? Because, they're confused. They see their child, oh, we know, they're playing with girls' dolls and, doing girly things and stuff like that. Honestly, it's gender exploration. And it's a thing. I do, from experience, think it is a thing. And growing up, I did have a bit of gender exploration. Now, there came to a point where gender exploration, through time, would solidify itself as one thing or another. And I know there's a lot of parents out there who think, I don't have time to wait. I need to find this out now. Don't worry about it. Just don't worry about it. This is something that shall not be stressed out about. The only thing you as a parent need to realize about a child who you think is going to fall into the LGBT community, I would not worry about it. Teach your kid taxes, home economics, protect your kid from all the bullies or people on the internet that might end up trapping your kid into doing something that's totally wrong. Feed your kid, clothe your kid, and teach them the fundamentals of life. That's all you need to do. Over time, if the child's behavior still is in line with differing gender expression, I would start asking the kid probably at the age of 16. If they can't get you a straight answer, just tell them, I will wait. Wait a couple of years, age of 18, it should be solidified. And then you'll get your answer. Maybe they'll start dating boys. And then you ask the question, are you gay? And the kid would say, yes, mom, or yes, dad, I am. Cool. Just leave it at that. Or they might say, you know what, mom, I feel like a girl. Or I feel like a man. That is the point where you would say, okay, we'll discuss about the whole thing about you transitioning. I think, in my opinion, that's how things should be handled. Because you know in your heart that you're not an evil parent. You're not being shamed by God. You're not doing anything wrong. At that point in time, you've done all you could do to make sure that your child is safe. Teaching your child the fundamentals of life. And that through that love and care, you would allow your kid to have their own children, come and visit you, trust is involved, and all this other stuff. And it's going to be a very, very, very wholesome life, I think. And that's all you need to do as a parent. You don't need to think, oh, but my kid is trans and all this other stuff. Well, whatever people are telling you, just ignore them. Just ignore them. You do, as a parent, if you're very a very loving parent and you're just like completely in the dark about certain things, I'm going to tell you this. Just love the child. Time will come when the child says, I want to talk about this. Or bring up the subject, but don't be a jerk about it. Okay? Don't be a jerk about it. Just you do you, boo-boo. Now, for those of you who are crazy, yeah, go fuck yourself. I'm just gonna be real here. There is no sense in reasoning with the people who are so deranged and so, you know, thinking, oh, men will be men and girls will be girls and this and that and selfish desires and stuff like that. No, just then why have a kid in the first place? Simple as that. Okay. I don't know what the laws are going to be for people with that kind of mentality. It's a thing that I think it should be explored and researched. And it should be a thing that should be worrisome to a lot of parents. Now, for those kids whose parents are completely deranged, I would say find a trusted friend. Tell them about it. And then we'll go on for there. You as a child who's being shamed because of your gender, because of your parents' selfish desires, there's plenty of resources out there that could keep you from harm's way. Now, I know you're worried about one thing. Oh, what if my deranged father or my deranged mother, find out that I said something? Find a trusted friend. Just find a trusted friend. Tell them about it. Tell them about the situation. Get enough evidence to discriminate against or to incriminate the parent in question. Present it to CPS or legal counsel for that matter. And just let magic happen. That is possibly the best advice I could give. Now, you could do the route about, revenge and stuff like that. Or offing the parent in question. Now, there will be a certain circumstances that I do believe that if the parent, the deranged parent, is going to be not only a detriment to you, but also a detriment to the general public as a as a subject, then through self-defense, I would say go for it. But that is a very, very, very rare circumstance. You need to be sure about this. You need to be sure about that. I don't condone using extreme retaliation. What I will say is, if you're a victim do everything in your power to make sure that the deranged parent is put to justice. And we'll let the prisoners of the prison deal with him. Because from my experience, from some of my uncles that have actually been to prison, people who abuse kids really don't take kindly to people like that. Prisoners really don't like people who abuse kids, regardless if it's PDF files or just like domestic violence. And as a kid, I would suggest you not worry about it too much. And you live as best of a life as possible. And whether you choose to go on the whether or not you choose to transition, that is now your right. It is not forced, it is not manipulated, it is not brainwashed into you. It is now your right. So yeah, that's my thoughts about all this. And kids in transgenderism. Going forward, I wish everybody the light at the end of the tunnel. Because you all guys deserve it. You really do. You need to live free. You need to live how you need to see yourself as. Maybe a mechanic, maybe engineering, whatever the case may be. But know for a fact that there's somebody who cares. Regardless of your gender identity. Okay, not even gender identity. Regardless of who you are as a person. That's it. I'm done. Regresque de pace. And have a wonderful life.